What's up, Warrior Nation? Welcome back to the Warrior Rewind, where we take time to visit with members of the Valley Christian athletics community, past and present. Once a Warrior, always a Warrior. This is your host, Rob Fair, VC Class of 2009, Assistant Athletic Director, and Warrior football and lacrosse coach. I encourage you to connect with me on Twitter at RobFair3 or email me at rfair@vcs.net to nominate a new guest that you'd like to hear from. You can find the Warrior Rewind just about anywhere podcasts live, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Now let's get to work. Elena Bruckner graduated from Valley Christian High School in 2016, and her athletic accomplishments as a Warrior are numerous. Her biggest highlights include 2 California state championships in shot put and 1 in volleyball. She is the California State High School record holder in the shot put with a mark of 54 feet 7 inches, a mark that still stands tall today. Furthermore, Elena is top 5 all-time in the nation for both shot put and discus. Elena was selected as the San Jose Sports Hall of Fame Female Athlete of the Year in 2015 and 2016. Also in 2016, she was selected as the California Gatorade Track and Field Player of the Year. On the international stage, Elena took 5th place in shot put and discus in the U20 World Championships in Poland in 2016, and also participated in the U.S. Olympic trials that year. Elena plans to again participate in the Olympic trials in June of next year. Needless to say, when it came to her college recruitment, Elena had many options and ultimately chose to attend the University of Texas. During her time as a Longhorn, Elena has continued her amazing athletic journey as she has become the University of Texas all-time record holder in the hammer throw, weight throw, and discus. Just a couple months ago, Elena clinched the 2020 Big 12 Indoor Shot Put Championship. Today, Elena is completing her last semester of her bachelor degree in economics at the University of Texas. Elena, thanks for being on the Warrior Rewind.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. We talked a little bit about how you're just coming off of clinching the 2020 Big 12 Indoor Shot Put Championship, and you were heading to the NCAA championships, and then what happened?
So the Big 12 championship was my last meet of the season, as far as I knew, for indoor season this year. And it was my last chance to qualify for nationals. I was able to do that, and I was so stoked and excited to head out to Albuquerque, New Mexico for the NCAA championships. We fly out there, do our pre-meet. I'm so excited. I'm within 24 hours of my competition, and we get the call that the NCAA has shut down indefinitely, and we're told to head back home to Austin. So I got the gear, I got in my training, and didn't even get to compete. So that was a little bit of a whirlwind, and I was really unsure about what waited for me back in Austin. But I'm still excited that I was sort of able to end my indoor season on a win, because the last competition I had was Big 12s. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience being so close to that goal of mine of getting to compete and then having it sort of postponed for the time being.
So many student athletes across the nation have been affected by season cancellations due to COVID-19, and obviously you were at the national championships for indoor track when they kind of pulled the rug out from underneath you. But you also have your outdoor track season coming up, your senior year. What does that look like? What feelings do you have about the cancellation this year? Are you going to be able to compete again next year? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I had big plans for this last season. My main event, as far as I'm concerned, is actually discus. And discus, you only get to throw in the outdoor season. I've dealt with a lot of injuries while being at UT that have just put me in really difficult position to do the best that I can in the outdoor season. I'm yet to be able to compete in a full season because of those injuries. And so I was really, really stoked going into this last season to try to make it count and do the best I could and leave that legacy at Texas. But I actually have been able to confirm that I'll be able to complete my eligibility next spring. So
Awesome.
that is super exciting. In the meantime, I mean, I'm just doing what I can at home to stay in shape, and throwing is a very technical sport, so it's not something you can really do without your coach. So unfortunately, I'm not able to continue to train at this time, but I am, like I said, doing what I can just to stay healthy and stay mentally engaged in that sport.
Sure. What kinds of things are you doing at home to stay in shape, to keep physically active?
Yeah, so when I was back home in California for a few weeks, I actually started bike riding with my parents, which was such a blast, and I really loved that. And then I came back to Austin and realized I had nothing but my feet. So I am not physically built to be a runner. My body doesn't necessarily agree with that, especially with all of my prior injuries. So I got the
And
brilliant idea
my
to
my body doesn't agree with it either.
yeah. It's my favorite excuse. God didn't make me to move that way. But I got the idea to spend my birthday money on a solid pair of rollerblades. So I've been out and about in Austin rollerblading for cardio, and so far so good. I'm having a blast, and it gives me a great opportunity to get out of my apartment.
That's so awesome. I love it. Going back to high school, I always remember, Elena Bruckner, the big personality. You obviously made your impact athletically at Valley Christian, but to be honest, when I think of Elena, the thing that always stands out to me the most is the Elena Bruckner on the volleyball court who, during pregame announcements, came off the court in uniform to sing the national anthem. And I think you've done a little bit of that at Texas too, right?
Yeah, definitely. So that was one of my favorite memories of being at Valley, was the opportunity to be able to sort of pursue like sports and that more art side of myself. Like, it's definitely difficult to do so many different things, and you want to make sure that you're focused in on one like thing that you can really make the most of. And so I did choose athletics, but I've always been a big singer, choir girl, musical theater girl. And so I think it was maybe my junior year where I got this idea, hey, why don't I just ask if I can sing the national anthem? And Jolene Fugate and Moni Tautu, my coach and athletic director at the time, they were like, you sing? Well, before we let you just go out there, maybe you can sing for us real quick. So I did a quick little demo up in the athletics office, and they both jaws dropped and they're like, get out there, you're going to go sing. So I just loved being able to do that and being able to show both sides of me. And then being at Texas, I sort of did the same thing. I just went for it and asked if I could sing at Texas Relays. And I've been able to do that for 2 years, and hopefully I'll be able to do it for my final Texas Relays as well. And that is just such a crazy experience, because there's thousands of people out there for Texas Relays, and I have to kind of close my eyes and pretend they're not there. But I definitely love doing that. It's so cool to be able to still sort of dive into that more creative side of myself and show sort of the rounded person that I am.
That's so awesome. What kind of things do you do on campus at Texas to stay involved?
Yeah, so I'm actually currently involved in a student ministry at UT called Athletes in Action. And it's a Christian-based ministry for student athletes that I've been a part of all 4 years. And just this year, we've kind of rebooted. And it's been so amazing to be able to be in the mindset that I am a senior and my time's coming to an end, but just trying to make the most of my time and leave the legacy of what it looks like to be a Christian student athlete at Texas. I think it's so easy to focus just on sort of the sports legacy that you're leaving, but there's such an opportunity for Christ to just penetrate the community there. And it's been so cool to see my faith journey in that way, and also the way that I've been able to reach out to teammates and different people in athletics and just see how God's going to work in that area. And I'm so excited now that I get that extra year at UT, because it's just even more time that I get to be in that community of athletes in action.
That's amazing. I've always loved how much of a fighter you are in every aspect. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the way that you display your energy athletically, artistically, and spiritually, all hopefully characteristics that we can use to define students at Valley Christian every day, right? And so when you look back at your time at Valley and hopefully some of the values that you learned carry with you today, what does being a warrior mean to you?
So being a warrior to me means never backing down and never accepting second place. You know, you may get second place every once in a while, but you better bet that the next year will be spent prepping for first, the next opportunity you get it. And I'm not just talking about sports. I still rave to people about Valley Christian to this date because of the amazing impact it had on me and continues to have. And I think it's the 3 A's or A cubed that it is, but
Eight to
the
the third.
sort of
Yeah, 8 to the third.
8 to the 3rd. Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people, no matter what you want to do at Valley, they're going to make sure that you have the resources and the opportunity to be the best in that area. And so whether that is the arts and the Conservatory of the Arts or AMSI and really working on that education and your passion in those different areas, or athletics like I ended up choosing at Valley, no matter what area you want to be in, even if it's all of them, they're setting you up for greatness in all of those areas. And so to me, being like a warrior, a Valley warrior, is striving to push past any preconceived notion of what is possible for you and for the school.
So awesome. Do you have a favorite memory from your time at Valley?
I have lots of favorite memories, but I'll give you two. I'll give you a sports one and a more school camaraderie one. So my favorite sports memory is I'll say track. My junior year at the state championship, Ronna Stone, who ended up going and throwing at University of Oregon, her and I went into the state championship just wanting to do our best and really support each other. But we kind of realized that we had an opportunity to do something really special. So we ended up both throwing really far, doing really well. And with us being the only two scorers of the 3 people who went to state that year, we actually were able to get second place as a team, which was insane because it was just 2 of us and 2 people competing in the same 2 events. And so being able to see the team that went up for 3rd place and the team that went up for 1st place, and then seeing me and Ronna and Coach Roll walking up to the podium to grab our 2nd place trophy, one of my proudest, best memories from my time at Valley. And whenever Ronna and I sort of stumble back on campus and look at that trophy case, we like to send a sort of picture of that trophy to each other because we look back and think of how cool and how crazy it is that that big trophy saying 2nd place in the state was something that we both set our sight and set our goals on and were able to achieve together. So that was super special. And then my more school camaraderie related favorite memory was my senior year at one of our rallies. We got our hands on some sumo suits and I got to put on this sumo suit and win. And we played this game that was supposed to be revolved around like in the sumo suit, running and picking up balls and bringing them back to your corner to get points. But I lost my mind and decided to start like sumo wrestling. And I saw someone grabbing the last ball and I ran up behind him and jumped onto his back and body slammed this guy to the ground.
I remember
And
that.
the whole crowd just starts screaming. And someone actually got a video of it from the athletics office looking down over the main gym. And I love looking back and watching that video and seeing the different reactions of people in the crowd and my friends. And it's just such a fun memory because being so involved in athletics and focus on my academics, it was really difficult for me to find that more social aspect. And so I think that moment I had never felt more of a part of the student body and more welcomed in and supported in that way. So it was really cool.
That's so awesome. Well, on a more serious note, we at Valley Christian like to use the motto, the quest for excellence. And you've been on quite the quest, whether it be state championships in high school or world championships in Poland to your athletic career now at Texas that's taking you all over the country. When you think of the quest for excellence, and in particular the word excellence, how do you define what excellence is to you?
So excellence to me, I've learned is not so much something to be obtained. So not a noun, but more of a verb and like a way of life. I feel that it can be really empty when you set your sights on something that you see as attainable as excellence, and then you get there and you realize that that's not the end all be all. It is more about that quest. But I absolutely love Valley's motto, quest for excellence. And I actually still have in my Instagram bio, like hashtag keep questing. And I love reminding people of that because the quest continues beyond your time at Valley. But like I said, I mean, I like to think more of the quest of the motto because like as a senior this past season at Texas, kind of as I was talking about earlier, that journey to the Big 12 championship, I knew it was my last chance to qualify for indoor nationals in the shot put. I started the season actually with a second stress reaction in my navicular, which is kind of your foot ankle, and it's a really difficult area to heal. And so right before season started, I spent a month and a half on a scooter, and I actually walked into my first track meet still in a boot. And just was struggling a lot with sort of coming back from that injury and was still having pain, wasn't able to practice. And 2 weeks before the Big 12 championship, my coach decided, hey, Elena, I'm changing your technique. I am switching you from this rotational technique that I had spent all of college working to perfect and understand. And he's like, I'm going to put you back to the glide, a very simple technique that I did back in high school. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But, I knew that God had more in his plan for me than failure and disappointment. And so I just hung on to the quest and kept pursuing that and questing for excellence. And then in my final conference championship, I actually ended up setting a PR, winning my first individual conference, as well as qualifying for nationals. And so that moment, it felt like excellence, but not because I had set this achievement as something to be obtained or as a definition of excellence, but because in that moment, it felt like the journey leading up to it. And once I was there was like truly the position that God intended me to be in. And so, just like I actually had a friend who had won a different event the day before, and the way that she put it, she put it so well in an Instagram post. But she said, Father, you are the reigning champion of the universe, and you said we are to be in the image and likeness of you. So Big 12 champion is who I am today. And so I just absolutely loved that and saw that the day before and decided to just run with that mindset and went into the next day and won my first conference championship. So cool. I am all for the quest. The journey is so much more than the place you end up.
I love it. You're getting me fired up over here.
I love it.
Elena, what would you say is the compliment that stands out as the best you've ever received?
So the best compliment I've ever received actually came to me in the form of an award. And it's to this day, like one of my proudest moments was actually receiving the Quest Award at my graduation in high school. I wasn't actually able to make it to the graduation ceremony because I had to be at state for track and field. So I received this award at the baccalaureate, and I had no idea that I was going to be receiving this, but when Dr. Doherty explained the award and called me up to get it, I was like in tears because, like you said, I'm kind of getting you fired up, but like the quest for excellence is something that has like penetrated my life in so many ways. And so to be able to see that like all of that work I did, focusing on my athletics, working hard in school, not being so much of that social student, and feeling kind of like isolated from the rest of the student body a lot of times, it felt like such an amazing recognition to see that work I was doing sometimes in silence on the side was still being seen and still being recognized. And all I wanted was to be a good representation of Valley and what it means to be a warrior and what it means to be someone living for Christ. And so to see that that was being recognized in that way was like the hugest compliment I could have ever received.
So cool. I love it. What is one thing that sport has done for your life that most people wouldn't expect? I talk a lot about there being some kind of obvious benefits to athletics, whether it be physical fitness or cardiovascular health. But what's something that most people, when they look at you, wouldn't think, oh gosh, that's an obvious benefit of sport to your life?
Yeah, so I may answer this a little bit deeper than the question implies, but I'm just going to run with it. So, a lot of people think that the more successful you are in sport and the more dedicated you become, the higher level you get to, the more you find your identity in it. But I've actually, especially these past 2 years, really experienced the opposite of that. And the further I go in sport, the more I realize where my identity truly lies, which is in my faith in Christ. And so that's been really cool to see that sort of, and that ties back into my involvement with Athletes in Action and just how faith has impacted my sport life. But yeah, I think a lot of people assume that like you're going to fall trap to the chasing success and what are you going to do when you're not doing track anymore? What do you do when you're not going to be in sports anymore? And as much as I think sports are going to be a part of my life forever, what goes beyond this life here on earth? And so I've actually just been like freed so much mentally, emotionally to compete to my best, knowing that my identity does not lie in my performance within the sport. So that's been awesome to experience.
That's super heartwarming, honestly, to come to that realization. It takes people a long time, I think, to have that. So for you to have that mentality has got to be empowering
Yeah, absolutely.
for you. What inspires you? What would you say is it that makes you strive to be your best self? I definitely remember an Elena Bruckner who would run through a brick wall to accomplish her goals. And so what is it that fuels you? What inspires you to achieve the heights that you have?
Yeah, so when I was a little kid, kindergarten, first grade, people love to ask you the question like, what are you going to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I wouldn't say any sort of normal job. I would just say I want to be an Olympian. And so that sort of like pursuit of that top level has always been in the back of my mind and always been something that drives me. But like that desire has developed over the years into not being Olympian for the achievement and the glory of it all, but really like I've had to ask myself, why athletics? Why do you want to do this? And I knew God was calling me to athletics and sports. And I realized it's because like when you're successful at something, it gives you a platform. It gives you clout, for people to want to listen to you and hear what you have to say. And so the more successful I am, the further I go in sport, the more credibility I get and the larger platform I have to be able to show people how the gospel, works into my sport and show people that through what I do. And so, yeah, I mean, that's really what pushes me is the desire to get that larger platform to be able to show people why I am the way I am and who drives that, which is obviously God. So yeah, I live for that. I live for the larger platform that I get when people, recognize me and when people want to ask me questions on Instagram and stuff just about like sport. I'm so excited to be able to use that platform to help others and help encourage others. So
Super cool. One of the ways that I like to use this podcast, hopefully as a platform to help current high school student athletes in particular, is give you an opportunity to imagine going back in time, travel in a time machine back to high school, where you visit with Elena Bruckner as a young student athlete who is at two different phases you can give young Elena one piece of advice when she is a freshman or a sophomore in high school, and you can give her another piece of advice when she's an upperclassman, either kind of encroaching on your last year in high school, or maybe towards the end of the year here in high school before you go off to college. What two pieces of advice would you share with young Elena?
Yeah, so I think the first thing I'd share with, freshman, sophomore Elena would be keep finding ways to do the things you love. Kind of going back to what I was saying about like being able to sing the national anthem. Like that was a little way where I was able to still do what I love and sing. I feel like when I was a freshman, sophomore, I was so focused on finding what I was good at and only doing that. And, thinking, you have to pare down and figure out what you're going to do for your future and be good at what you're good at. And I think that it would have been so freeing to have someone tell me to still do everything, because you can. It's so easy to think that there's so much riding on what you're doing early on in high school to set you up for the rest of it. But I just wish I would have taken more time to really reach out and continue to explore instead of just immediately paring down on what I was already good at.
Mm.
And then for more like upperclassmen advice, I think just not stressing. Like I know I put a lot of pressure on myself to, again, stay focused and only be doing stuff that I saw directly impacting where I was going, with college and academics and stuff. But I think that I could have saved myself a lot of anxiety and stressful nights if I would have just stepped back and taken a few deep breaths and realized the bigger picture of it all. Thankfully for me, like I had good enough grades where I could have sacrificed a few nights of all-nighters studying, freaking out about different tests and stuff, and I would have still been fine. I wasn't on the edge to get into college based on academics. And so if I would have just taken more time to build the relationships that I had, I think that would have been awesome, because I definitely got great relationships out of high school, but I think I could have invested in them more so that they could have still been around to this day.
Sure. Yeah, I think if I were to sum up your advice, do more and worry less.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to sum it up? In
Yeah.
4 words?
Yeah, exactly. It's like do more things, but do less of the things that you're doing so that yeah, you can invest in the things that matter and are going to last longer. Like I couldn't tell you what grade I got on that test, and so
Yeah.
I don't want to give that information to your young student athletes, close the book, you'll be fine, because that's not what I'm trying to say. But just look at the bigger picture.
For sure. Well, that's great advice, Elena. Thank you so much for spending some time to be here with me on the Warrior Rewind. Before I let you go, if our listeners want to either get in touch or follow along on social media, what are your Instagram, Twitter handles?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram, and you can find me at Laney Bruck, spelled LANIEBRUCK. Feel free to DM me or anything. I love talking track, faith, life, anything with people. I also post a lot of like fun home exercises and yoga. So I love communicating, interacting with people in that way. Definitely hit me up.
Awesome. Well, again, Elena, thanks for coming on the show. Good luck in your future endeavors as you get another opportunity to go back to your senior track season next year. And beyond that, hopefully into the Olympic trials after that.
Awesome. Thanks again so much for having me.